So why don't we just get right into it with the big game that we didn't quite understand the spread of last week that we talked about. Lions were favored by 1 point against the Vikings. Well, Vegas knew something we didn't because they ended up winning 34-23. Thoughts on this game there, Jack?
Thoughts on this game? This is a big game for Jared Goff. Among other people, I mean, first of all, the Lions in general. The Lions are not out yet. They are not out yet, especially with the Seahawks losing this week. They are not out yet. They're not out of the division yet. Frankly, it would take a bit of a. It would be surprising for them to win. I think they would need to win out, and Minnesota has to lose out, right? Which is a bit, which are somewhat steep. But I don't think the Lions have a terrible schedule or anything. I don't think it's that too tough. But it's that sort of. But the Vikings play some real easy teams. They could easily pick up wins. But this was big for the Lions, I think, especially, and not to get into my favorite subject because there'll be later episodes in the postseason and stuff about this. But draft picks, if you're the the Lions, getting to, they're going to be in that sort of draft pick range where they could easily, if they want to, try to trade up for a QB, or not even trade up, just pick a QB where they are. Right? They currently have the 4th pick in the draft. It won't be affected, I don't believe, by the results of the game this week. Actually, maybe it does, but either way, won't really be affected. And that could be big. That could be big for Jared Goff. So Jared Goff coming out tonight, right? He's got Jameson Williams, right? That was their 10th, 12th overall pick last year. Hadn't really played much yet because he tore his ACL in the national championship game last year. So this is a big game for Goff. 330 yards over the air, 27 for 39, no interceptions, 3 touchdowns. He continued that early season Lions offensive dominance that we saw. And that's, I think, for him is big because this is a bit of a kind of prove it sort of situation here where, okay, Lions team starting to put pieces together. You're starting to think, okay, they have a high draft pick. Later years, they might not have a draft pick this high. This is purely off the Rams collapse. And obviously, this is purely off the Rams collapse. You may not get it. They may not get it. They might be thinking, when are we going to be able to draft a QB this high again? If we're starting to get these great offensive players, good offensive line, we're going to be spending more and more on defense. I think this is a sort of point where if Goff in games like this proves himself, and he proves himself that he's at least that he's good enough for the Lions, that he's good enough. Hey, you try to use that pick on a big defensive player. And some defensive stud. Do that. Don't pick a quarterback. I think games like this are massive for him there.
Yeah, well, I think that's great analysis, and I actually can't agree more. I don't think we're giving Goff enough credit for what he's doing. Okay, I know he's got Amon-Ra St. Brown. Okay, but can you name me another receiver on that team? I understand we've got Swift, who's been out, and Jamal Williams, but I don't know who the receivers are on this team, and they're besides that little stint in the middle of the season where their offense really faltered. They've been a pretty good offense. They've been above average offense, and Jared Goff has been slinging it, especially yesterday. Obviously it is the Vikings defense, so I don't want to go too crazy, but Goff's having a good season, and I think we all just say to ourselves, we remember what happened in LA. We remember him missing, not being able to win the Super Bowl against the Patriots. Yeah. It was only 13-10. They didn't need to score that much. But in that same season, they went to a 49-48 score against Kansas City or something ridiculous. Yeah. It wasn't that he couldn't score points with that offense. And so this whole swing for Stafford, this trade made it seem like Goff was a problem. Yes. Was the max contract
his contract was a problem?
Maybe. Yes, probably it was, but he's not. He's not a bad QB, and I think that I agree with you, and it's weird. Justin Jefferson had a ridiculous game.
Oh yeah, as always,
over 200 yards, and it just wasn't enough. Actually, I didn't think Kirk Cousins played that bad, and they were actually in it. Down 6, and I think that there was a fumble or something, or at the end.
The run game was surprisingly anemic for the Vikings. I will say they did get down. I think there was one it was 21-7 in this game, and I can mention then you can't really run as much. But even in terms of per carry, they were only averaging, even if you just look at Dalvin Cook, and you don't want to, if you add in their other running back, it just gets worse. Just look at Dalvin Cook. He's averaging 1.5 a carry over 15 carries. He's not quite optimal.
No.
And I'd say, and I don't like think it's or like it's, and it's not. I Dalvin Cook's a good running back. It's not like I don't think it's his fault. It's like it's just that it's all of it's weird because the Lions aren't known for their stifling defensive line or linebacker core. I didn't think like their defense in general. That was the whole thing in the early season was that they had the number 32 defense in the league. That was their whole shtick. So to be able to not get a whole lot on the ground against them, kind of unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, yeah, this game big.
People are hype on the Lions. We can get into the playoffs a little bit more later, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I really buy into the hype. This was a 1-6 or 1-7 team at one point. So I don't know if I
MCDC. No. Hey, and Lions are still in it. Have some pretty easy games in their schedule, but I think even if they win out, they still have like it still requires some other stuff. And I could see them losing to the Jets potentially, like one of those games, just because it's the Lions. But they've been looking hot. But like it's the Lions, right? Right. You can never as soon as you start believing in them, as soon as like we as a society start believing in them, they will let us down. Right. It's because normally it's only Lions fans giving up, and that's what it had been. Everyone had kind of moved off the Lions in the middle of the season. And then it's only Lions fans there being disappointed. And now, everyone else, they're getting a bit hot. Everyone's starting to look at them. Too much hype.
We'll
see. The thing with the Lions.
If they win out, they'll definitely get in. If they win out,
it's not guaranteed.
No, it's not guaranteed. But
it's not guaranteed.
They'll
they
get
should.
in. Because the Seahawks, Giants, and Washington, they're not going to win out, So if
Yeah.
they did, okay, but
So I think the sixth that last playoff position, unless I think Commanders, Giants both fall out, which is possible, I want to believe. Okay, it's like the X-Files, not sponsored. I want to believe, and I know by saying this, I'm cursing them.
Yeah,
I know that's just the thing. By saying this, I'm cursing them.
Let's hear it.
But I believe in the Detroit Lions. I want Iguodala. Okay, that's how I feel like saying this. I do feel like that. I believe in them. They're gonna sneak in as the 7th seed. They got an easy schedule, easy remaining schedule. They're gonna sneak in. And yeah,
it would be a good story. I tell you what, that would be a good story.
That's the story. There you go. Jared Goff goes to the Super Bowl once again. Against the New England Patriots.
If Motor City Dan Campbell goes to the Super Bowl, we're ending the podcast. We're done. You will not see us after. We will just not. Maybe you'll see Jack, but I'm not coming up.